Good morning, students. We'll be starting with the first chapter in English, that is An Astrologer's Day. An Astrologer's Day is a thriller, suspense short story by author R.K. Narayan. While it has been published earlier, it was the titular story of Narayan's fourth collection of short stories published in 1947 by Indian Thought Publication. Now, let us look at the author and his works. R.K. Narayan is one of the best known novelists among Indian English writers. His stories celebrate the humor and energy of ordinary life and are characterized by a simple style and subtle funniness. So, if you go through the books or the novels that R.K. Narayan has written, you will see that he portrays most of the ordinary life that you and me live in his novels through his stories. His stories are very simple. The language that he uses is very simple to understand, and he also uses a little bit of funniness here and there. His various works include Swami and Friends, The Bachelor of Arts, The Dark Room, An Astrologer's Day, and other stories, Waiting for the Mahatma, The Financial Expert, Mr. Sampath, The Guide, and many other books. His novel The Guide won him the Sahitya Academy Award in 1961, the most coveted literary honor in India. Now, R.K. Narayan has won this award, that is the Sahitya Academy Award, which is one of the awards which every author desires greatly for. And he has won this award for his novel The Guide. Narayan typically portrays the peculiarities of human relationships and the ironies of Indian daily life. Now, let us look at the four aspects that we will be looking into this lesson, that is our strengths. Now, what are strengths? Strengths are things which we are very good at. Strengths are something which is inbuilt in us, which we don't have to make any effort to bring out. It's just in us and we are very good at it. Like some people have strengths like painting, they can paint very well, they can draw very well, they can sing very well, they can play instruments very well, they can pick up a language easily. So all these are their strengths. Now, why do we feel a particular thing is our strength? Because we can visualize it, we can express ourselves, we can express ourselves by singing, we can express ourselves by playing music, we can express ourselves by drawing or painting. Now, dream career, why? Because these strengths might be further developed into having a career. Okay, so some people choose their careers with the help of the strengths that they already have. And the second aspect that we will be looking at is a local market. The entire setting that the author uses in this lesson is a local market. And local market, we all are aware about those small markets that we have where people of different places from different places come to sell their wares. Okay, so this is a local market here also in this lesson, and we will see how in this local market the author develops the entire setting. Now, also, he talks about the next aspect, that is the astrologer. Astrologer, we all are aware about an astrologer who we go to in order to get ourselves known with our future. Okay, so this astrologer in this lesson also is a person who is sitting by the roadside with all his professional equipments waiting for people to come to him. And the last aspect, that is superstitions. Now, we all are aware about superstitions. Those are those beliefs that we have, and which are scientifically also sometimes correct. Like one of the belief is lemon and chilies. Okay, now lemon and chilies is supposed to avoid misfortune. Okay, so people hang this lemon and chilies in their shops or on their vehicles in order to avoid misfortune. Also, black cat crossing your path is supposed to be a bad omen. Also, breaking mirrors, which it brings bad luck. So these are all the superstitions that we have in our society. Now let us start with the lesson. Before that, the first picture that we have, this is a we have seen these are known as the cowrie shells. Okay, and the astrologer uses these shells for his occupation. Then this is a picture of an astrologer that we might have seen before. Okay, a person normally wearing saffron colored dress, a turban, and his forehead completely covered with ash, and a huge tika of vermilion, and also long beard and huge and you know those sharp whiskers that they have. Now this is the palmyra writing, again used by the astrologer, And this is how the entire astrologer has his setup. Okay, like he'll be there along with the parrot, the cards. Then there'll be some pictures, some kind of mistake pictures which are very difficult for us to understand, some different types of colored stones, etc. So to begin with the lesson, punctually at midday, he opened his bag and spread out his professional equipment, which consisted of a dozen cowrie shells, a square piece of cloth with obscure mystic charts on it, a notebook, and a bundle of Palmyra writing. Okay, what is cowrie shells? I had shown you in the previous picture here on your top left hand side. Then you have a piece of cloth that he has with him with there will be different types of pictures and writings on those chart on the chart. So those are some things that we will not be able to, a normal person will not be able to understand. It is very difficult to understand. Then there'll be one notebook, a bundle of these writings, and his forehead will be was resplendent with sacred ash and vermilion. Vermilion is that dark orange color that you have on his forehead, that's vermilion. And his eyes sparkled with a sharp abnormal gleam, which was really an outcome of a continual searching look for customers, but which his simple clients took to be a prophetic light and felt comforted. The power of his eyes was considerably enhanced by their position placed as they were between the painted forehead and the dark whiskers which streamed down his cheeks. Even a half-wit's eyes would sparkle in such a setting. Okay, half-wit's eyes means any foolish person will be easily able to understand. To crown the effect, he wore a saffron-colored turban around his head. This color scheme never failed. People were attracted to him as bees are attracted to cosmos or dahlia stalks. He sat under the boughs of a spreading tamarind tree, which flanked a path running through the town hall park. It was a remarkable place in many ways. Now let us look exactly what the author is trying to tell us. Now he begins the story with a description of the astrologer, who is the central character in the story. So the central character of the story is the astrologer, and R.K. Narayan chooses to begin his story by describing this astrologer. And he uses minute details like his appearance, his clothes, and all the materials he uses to ply his trade. These all are described very well. The astrologer who is not given a name, there's no name given for this astrologer, but he comes across as a type, one of the many street vendors in India. Like you will find many street vendors over here, but you will particularly find the astrologer. Why? Because he will be dressed in a particular way, he will be sitting under the shade of a tree. Okay, and this astrologer belongs to the same category like the other people. They also come to sell their things. The astrologer also comes there to make his business by telling people things. There is a need to dress for this astrologer and to behave in a particular manner so that people believe that yes, this person is someone who has a particular power in order to tell you what your future belongs. He does that effectively by giving the impression of a holy man whose special powers enable him to function as an astrologer. So you will see that he is around. So the first entire paragraph that he uses is talking about the astrologer and the way he is dressed and where he is sitting and how people are attracted towards him. Now let's go to the next. A surging crowd was always moving up and down this narrow road from morning till night, and occupations was represented all along its way: medicine sellers, sellers of stolen hardware and junk, magicians, and above all, an auctioneer of cheap cloth. Okay, so now the author also describes other people who are there in the local market along with the astrologer. There are so many other people who are trying to sell whatever they have in a very attractive manner. Now, next to him in vociferousness came a vendor of fried groundnuts. Now, already there was a person who was, selling cheap cloth, and he was going on shouting and making a lot of noise. And to come and, give him another challenge, one more person, that is a person selling fried groundnut, he comes there and he starts giving, fancy names to his, his groundnuts or the packet of groundnuts by calling them Bombay ice cream one day, and on the next day Delhi almond, and on the third day Raja's delicacy. So look, listening to the names, people would be all attracted and they would flock to him. A considerable portion of this crowd dallied before the astrologer too. Now, what is the meaning of dallied? Dallied means people. There are also some people in the local market who literally do not want to buy something, but they just come there loitering around, wasting time. Okay, so these people also came in front of the astrologer. The astrologer transacted his business by the light of a flare, which crackled and smoked up above the groundnut heap nearby. Now we are talking about a story which took place in a very years before. Okay, so then the market system or the village market did not have a lot of facilities, and hence everybody depended on some kind of a lighting. Okay, there was no municipal lighting for everyone, so some people carried their own flares, some people were standing under the lamppost and doing their business. Half the enhan- Half the enchantment of the place was due to the fact that it did not have the benefit of municipal lighting. The place was lit up by shop lights. One or two had hissing gas lights. Some had naked flares stuck on poles. Some were lit up by old cycle lamps, and one or two, like the astrologer, managed without lights of their own. Now, people who required lights in order to sell their wares had their own arrangement. But this astrologer the author is talking about, he did not depend on anyone. He just managed without any lights, and it was bewildering crisscross of lights, rays, and moving shadows. This suited the astrologer very well. The entire setting was good for him for the simple reason that he had not in the least intended to be an astrologer when he began life. Now, here the author comes up with the truth, saying that this particular astrologer, he always did not have the intention of becoming an astrologer. He did not aim for doing, this having this profession, but somehow situations made him become an astrologer, and he knew no more of what was going to happen to others than he knew what was going to happen to himself next minute. Now this astrologer, again the author talks about, says that he, being an astrologer, and he is supposed to tell people their future, but he had no idea of what people's future held and what his own future consisted of. He was as much a stranger to the stars as were his innocent customers. Yet he said things which pleased and astonished everyone. That was more a matter of study, practice, and shrewd guesswork. Now, this astrologer, who had no knowledge of the stars and all the things that are going to happen, but one thing that he had was shrewd guesswork. He was very, shrewd. He was good at judging people. He was very clever, and through study for few years and by practicing the same thing for few years, he had an idea of what his customers wanted to listen to. All the same, it was as much an honest man's labor as any other, and he deserved the wages he carried home at the end of the day. So the author says that no matter what his previous knowledge was, but he did work hard. He sat under the tree the whole day, and so at the end of the day, whatever earnings he had, he deserved that. Now this, the first picture, is the gas light that was used earlier by people when there was no other lights. Then can you see that groundnut person selling, groundnut vendor? He has this flare in front of him, okay, over the heap of the groundnut. So that's how the author describes. And this is the scene of a normal local market. Okay. So with that, we'll stop today. And if you have any doubts regarding this PPT, please let me know through the WhatsApp message. You'll have my WhatsApp message on the groups that we have formed, and so you can message me if you have any difficulty to understand. Also, there's a video about the author. I will be posting the same. You all can go through it and get a little more knowledge about the author. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay home.